Hello,
Hey
everybody.
everybody, Chris and Sarah here with another episode 4 of Conscious Conversations, and this one is titled Why the Pursuit of Happiness is Making You Miserable.
It is a wonderful night, and we are very excited to bring yet another conversation to the table. For those of you that missed 1 through 3, you can always go to YouTube and check out the first 3 episodes, but we are streaming on Instagram up top, and we're streaming on Facebook below. So if we're looking up and down, that's what's going on.
Yeah, and the whole point about conscious conversations, in case you have missed the ones in the past, is to just record a natural conversation that Chris and I would have anyway, even if the cameras weren't around. We spend a lot of time before bed every night just talking as if we'd never talked before. But it usually follows a good flow, like topics in spirituality, topics in personal development, all kinds of beautiful things. And so, the reason why we brought it to Facebook was to get you guys involved. Our YouTube platform, we weren't too satisfied with the YouTube Live platform. We really love Facebook Live, so it's a great way for you guys to be a part of this conversation.
And now Instagram Live as well.
And Instagram Live as well. I can't forget about you guys up there. So, first we got our tea. Always helps the conversation flow.
We got a beautiful herbal mix tonight. And
what'd you put in there?
Well, we got some catnip herb, we got some orange peel, we got some lavender, and a few other goodies just to relax and calm down a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. What's your favorite tea, guys? I see a few of you are with us. What's your favorite tea you like to drink at night? Do you drink tea? If not, why not?
Why not start? And you know what? Loose leaf is a good way to go. It's a really good way to go.
It really is.
Really a lot more potent than the bags, but we both.
So anyway, I know what you guys are here for. This is interesting. Ooh, someone likes ginger. Ooh, at nighttime, stimulate that digestion.
It's very good.
You guys here, you are obviously attracted to this episode, probably from the title, Why the Pursuit of Happiness is Making You Miserable. And I know that you've heard a lot of things about this. You've heard a lot of people tell you, like, oh, happiness comes from inside you. You hear a lot of these things, but what does that really mean? What does that really mean? And so Chris and I just want to have a conscious conversation, no scripts, no bullet points, no
nothing,
no pre-meeting before this live stream, to just talk about why the pursuit of happiness is likely making you miserable. So I want to ask all of you, you included, like, how many times have you heard yourself saying, I would be happy if?
More times than I'd like to admit throughout just this journey. There's so many more times than I'd like to admit, but it's a part of coming into what is true happiness. And so I've said it a lot, and I'd be happier when, or I'd be happier when I have more. I'd be happier. That the more part is always really drained in there a lot.
More what?
More whatever it is. I'd be happier when I have more of whatever material thing we're talking about, because you get caught up in that mentality.
And isn't it interesting how the more you chase it, the less happy you become, right?
And it's hard to realize that. You don't always realize that at first. It takes, I think, time to get to that point. Like, wow, like what have I been chasing? Like looking behind me all the time.
It's interesting because I like to say that, we want to kind of break this down to you guys about what it really does truly mean to be happy on the inside, and happiness comes from you. I like to say that this, whatever makes me happy outside of what I believe to be outside of myself, is actually just a reflection of the happiness that already exists inside of me. And that took me a long time to see. Like, that took me a long time to really fully grasp that concept, because, like I said, we hear it over and over again. Happiness is inside of you. You control your happiness. But nobody ever really talks about how. Nobody ever really talks about how to find or cultivate that
That's
happiness
true.
inside of you. So I wanted to get you guys thinking, like, what have you found yourself the most unhappy about? And get curious. Get curious about what is it about not having this or having to experience that makes you unhappy.
I have a really good example. Remember last year when we were living with your parents, we're trying to get our business up. We're trying to do what we can to make a living for ourselves based on our entrepreneurial spirit. And how many times did we say throughout that journey, oh, it'd be so great if we just had our own place. Oh, it'd be so nice if we just had our own spot. And of course, 4 years of being together, of traveling the world, of living all over the place, you crave that nest, you crave those roots. And we were craving that. There's nothing wrong with that. But how many times did we say that and then finally realize, towards the end of our stay, like, wow, we really started to slow down and pull back a little bit from saying that as much. We had a lot of realizations at that point.
Well, because we realized that focusing on what we didn't have was taking away from the joy that was already existing around us. Exactly. And it was in fact creating situations, we were co-creating a manifestation of more things that reflected the inner disharmony. So that's a really big point, I think, to talk about when we are on the pursuit for happiness. Happiness is just an emotion and it is fleeting, but we can conjure it up. And that's the beautiful thing. Usually emotions are a response to something outside of ourselves happening to us, for us, whatever. And we say, that made me happy. But really, our emotions aren't dependent on what's going on around us. If I tell you right now, close your eyes and allow yourself to fill up your body with whatever happiness is. Given a few seconds, you'd probably start to notice sensations in your body changing. You might notice like your smile, a smile on your face starts happening. You might even giggle a little bit or something. And that's a sign that you've created that state of being of happiness. So if we can actually initiate the feeling of happiness, despite what's going on around us, that's really powerful, because that means that we're the one that's in control of when we are happy. And if that's the case, why wouldn't we want to enter that state of being all the time, no matter what's happening around us?
Well, that's essential to the manifestation process. That's essential to us actually coming into creation with whatever it is we desire by entering those feelings. And that's something that I think also took a long time to really step into that role as a conscious manifester.
Because we didn't realize that our pursuit of happiness meant that we were going to create experiences that reflect the inner unhappiness or inner disharmony, right?
Yeah.
So without knowing that, we kept validating this experience through external reality, therefore keeping us in a loop of, and don't get me wrong, like, we were happy. We've been happy for 4 years.
Great.
We've been happy, but we still fell into the trap of, we would be happier if we had our own place. We would be happier if blah, 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 blah. And I think once we started to recognize that we were in fact co-creating our reality to keep validating the fact that we were unhappy without, then we were staying stuck. We were in this little loop. And then we realized, it was like, oh wow, I haven't been tapped into like the joy that's here already. And I think that hit us both pretty hard.
Well, it took a lot of surrender. It took a lot of letting go and saying, okay, well, and from this point forward, I'm going to do my best to step into flow instead of fighting the rapids and trying to swim upstream, because that's exactly what was going on. We were just trying to swim upstream and these crazy class 5 rapids, and they kept knocking us back and knocking us back until we said, okay, we're just going to flow with the river and go downstream and see where it takes us. And that, at that point, was exactly when like everything turned in a way that, yeah, we ended up getting our own place and things ended up working out very well. And it just proves that when you're in that flow, that's when things happen. Not only you manifest things, but you also find that inner happiness.
Exactly. You know, and a lot of people, though, they might be wondering, like, okay, well, that's great and all, but what if, like, everything's falling apart around you? How in the hell are you supposed to be happy in that state when
That's a good question.
Everything is falling apart around you? And, like, guys, I've been there. I have been there. And it is not easy. It's not easy, but one of the things that really helped me was finding the tiniest reasons to smile. And that was usually like something magical, like a raindrop on a flower petal, or seeing a cute bunny rabbit jump across the street. Like the smallest of things that can help elicit that emotional response of happiness can actually remind you what it feels like to be in control of your happiness.
For sure.
And that's beautiful because that really reflects the power of our ability to not only create our inner reality, but for our external reality to be a reflection of it.
And it's, I don't know, I find it difficult to articulate in the sense that, like, trying to bring this out into actually like a step-by-step process or something that a guidebook or a rubric that somebody could follow to get to this point. I think just the evolution of our human nature of our consciousness is just a process, and it takes time. And I think there can be like some guide points or guideposts along the way that we can mark there. But at the same point, we have to, I think, realize and come to those realizations like we did in that moment, say, oh, well, wait, things aren't been going the way that we desired. So what's going on within us? And that's when we questioned even deeper and went deeper and kept peeling back the layers more and more and more and more. And I still get caught up in the loop sometimes, like, oh man, like it'd be great to have this. And then I'm like, okay, well, look what's going on right now. Like everything is perfect. Everything is perfect. And I don't know, I think it's a part of that evolutionary process.
And I think a huge part of that evolutionary process too is finding the happiness in the darkest of times, because that shows self-trust, that shows sort of a resilience too. You know, like we know by now that everything has its perfect place, that every little experience we've ever had was just a stepping stone to aligning with our true selves. And we've been able to do that together. We've co-created that experience, which has been amazing. And, you know, happiness, it's hard to put into words, but it's when we're feeling like everything is just completely shattered, when we are feeling the darkness, you know, we're pleasure seekers. We want to immediately get ourselves out of that. I want to do X, Y, Z because it'll make me happier in the midst of all this darkness. And sure, I did mention how one of my tricks is to find small things to be happy about. But those aren't Band-Aids. That's just to help, almost like a crutch, to help you look at the darkness in a new way, where you're like, okay, wait a minute, I've been here before, and I know what can come from darkness, and it can be really, really beautiful, and usually is, maybe years down the road. But when we can find that ability to find joy even in pain, we actually create this like bubble of gratitude for all things as that stepping stone into our truest self. So I feel like the pain is our greatest teacher to show us that, hey, look, you can be happy even when I'm happening to you, because I am not yours. You are just experiencing me as something that is flowing as energy through you. Like that's what pain says to me now, where I don't own it. It doesn't control me. We literally share space. And I recognize that I can make this experience as miserable or as beautiful as I want. And I think the beautiful part of being miserable is having the courage to go into those places of fear, to go into those limiting beliefs and just rip it all up and out and just regurgitate it everywhere. Let it be what it needs to be. Learn from it. And then you can breathe. You can breathe.
I really like the way you articulated that. You know, going through all of the different phases of life and having faced trauma and darkness, as I'm sure many of you have. I mean, this is something that is not foreign to the human condition. We go through a lot of shit and we go through a lot of things to learn those lessons. But I think the fear-based conditioning that we've endured takes over at times where we're not able to see it as such and see the darkness as a teacher and as an ally, really, because at the end of the day, that's exactly what it is. Like, man, like, think of the toughest times, but then think about every time after that, what happened after that? Like you said, it might have been years down the line, but I can tell you there has to be a silver lining in it, and there always is. It's just a matter of really shifting perception and perspective on the way life is, and that it's not against you, but with you, and allowing that as such. But again, it takes a little while to get to that. It also, but it doesn't have to either. Because I think with what you were saying and some of the like smiling at those little things and doing those sorts of small steps, you can have a perspective or a different perspective and really see the darkness as such.
Exactly. And as, you know, we let that darkness come up and out, it's our ally. You know, it's interesting. Our darkness, we look at darkness as the biggest roadblock to happiness. But really, it's our darkness who's like, hey, I'm actually trying to show you that you're the one that's unhappy on the inside. Therefore, you've created me. And if you listen, you will learn this. And then we will grow together. And then, hey, you no longer need me. Like, pain and darkness, it doesn't want to stick around. It does not grip us. We grip it. Remember Dean Slider, natural meditation and mindfulness expert. We were interviewing him on a Soul and Wonder podcast episode not too long ago. That episode will be released next week. He talks about how loosen your grip. You're the one that's holding on to anything that's making you uncomfortable. But you don't just throw it out the window and forget it's there, because it'll keep coming back. It'll keep coming back until it's been resolved.
Like a bully coming after you all the time.
The most loving bully.
Yeah, exactly. The best way you can put it.
It's a tough love teacher is what it is.
Well, and so a technique that I read the other day, which I think I should probably share, is, what is the book I'm reading right now? We have so many books laying around here. It's really
by
difficult. Ellen Tad. Yes. The Infinite Earth View?
The Infinite View.
The Infinite View. Anyways, in this book, she was talking about, you know, the same thing that we're sharing here as far as going into the darkness, seeing it for what it is and coming out into the light and letting it, look at it, go through it, feel it. But to get to that point, let's say before that point, we need to ask, what is our deepest fear? And that's what she said in the book. Like, sit there and really, but not just ask out loud, not just ask what is our deepest fear, but sit there and ask yourself, close your eyes, breathe. What is my deepest fear? And you keep repeating that over and over again. And your body, like we were talking about before, will show you, and you may even get some sort of validation through your external environment of somebody triggering something in you, or everybody's a mirror. Someone triggered something in you. And it's at that time where you have the choice to, one, go through it, see it, or two, run away from it. But I guarantee you,
it'll be knocking on that
it'll
door.
be knocking once again. And we have a lot of surface level fears that sit on the surface, but there is always one root fear at the core. And that generally, it is different for everybody. We all have different incarnations and different things we take on. But really it's, fear of security, fear of safety. We're really fearful of that, of rejection, loneliness, death. Those four are the common themes. Fear of not being good enough, that the humans have really collectively agreed to. And I think that once you get to that point and realize that, it's almost empowering the awareness of that, and moving you towards this road to happiness. But it's right within.
Exactly. But people are afraid of their fears. People are afraid to be honest about their fears.
Oh, it's hard. It's
people
hard,
are afraid
man.
to be honest about their fears.
We've had to get pretty damn honest with each other, and also just talking about this in general. It's really trying at times.
One of the things I like to do with my clients in a one-on-one session is when they voice a fear and we know that there's an old story they're telling themselves that's holding them back, I usually ask them, okay, well, tell me about this fear. They tell me about the fear, but you can always tell when someone's holding themselves back from being fully honest with themselves about their fear. So I always say, well, if I can feel that intuitive sense that they're not quite deep enough to that bedrock fear, I'll usually ask them, well, what's scary about that? And then they'll think about it. I'm like, okay, then what? What would be worse than that? And then you might have to start getting into your imagination because you maybe have never been in this place before. And then, okay, so what's so bad about that? And what's worse than that? And before you know it, you spiral down to the root fear that may seem like it has nothing to do with the original. It usually
doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
How many times have we gone down the rabbit hole, be like, all right, we're sitting right here, and then before you know it, we're 15 levels below the surface, and we're uncovering things like, this doesn't even really make sense. No. How is this even true?
But then when you feel it, you know that it is true. You know that you've created this story somewhere down in history, and you keep agreeing to this agreement of history. It isn't until we can make a new claim to be free, to be new, that we can make space for possibilities, therefore creating more external experiences that reflect the inner happiness within us. The key thing, inner happiness within us, but you have to be able to cultivate it. And to cultivate it, you have to make space for it. To make space for it, you've got to get all the dark stuff up and out. I cannot stress that enough.
There's no way around it.
There is no way around it. I don't care what you're going through. I don't care what you've been through. I have compassion for you. I have empathy for you because I have been down some of the deepest, darkest roads. But we have all the ability to change our entire reality. And I just think that that's something that's going to come out of our mouths a lot on this Conscious Conversation show. But the pursuit of happiness just shows that you haven't quite remembered the natural state of joy that you truly come from.
Really what it comes down to at the end of the day is remembering who you are.
And who are you?
That of truth. That of spirit. I'm not this human condition and all the stories that I've made up, which, again, we were just had this conversation this morning talking about this. I'm in and out of this place of this is who I am. This is my stories. This is me, Chris.
This is your self-made identity.
This is my self-made identity. And then the next moment I'm on the yoga mat or whatever, and I'm seeing everything as spirit, as everything as divine, everything as love, right? And so I'm back and forth in between these states because I'm still on my process of growing. I'm on still in the process of learning,
we're still making
shedding,
space.
of peeling back, So it's a constant evolution, and it's a journey. That's exactly what it is. And so I want to be completely honest with myself. I want to be completely honest with everybody else. This isn't a space for us to talk about really like, hey, this is where we are. No, like we're still going through this as much as anybody else is. And it's an incredible journey. So really, this conversation that we have every single week is really just the unfoldment of us and some of the things that we, again, are requested to talk about as well. But
we have a whole list.
We have a whole whiteboard
of topics that you guys wanted us to talk about, and we're really excited to get through all of those. But if you're still watching, I want to ask you, if you're be so brave to do so, share with us like one thing that you are the one major sticky spot that you have regarding happiness. And I want to challenge you to be really, really honest with yourself. And if it takes some time to think about it, and then comment whenever you feel ready. But I guarantee you, like, everybody else is experiencing the same thing. And so when we share our barriers, when we share our blocks, it really helps other people to see that they're not alone, first and foremost, and that this is a journey, like he said. I think that I've been working in this space of happiness for a while now.
Yeah.
It benefits me to be working with clients going through their own journey, because I learn from them. Like, oh my God, the experiences they have. But even I still have those days where I would much rather distract myself from the intensity or any darkness that might be around. Mm-hmm. Even I have those days where I wake up, I'm like, I don't want to do all this, like,
not
today, and I just want to numb it with like Netflix and chill, right? We all do. I mean, I would go as far as to say, as like one of the most spiritual people on this planet probably goes like this too, and fluctuates. And that's part of this human journey and this human unfoldment, the remembering of who we are in truth and what we are in truth and how we serve in truth.
You are free, you are free, you are free.
So that's where we need to offer grace. Grace to ourselves for not being happy all the time, right? I got a couple.
Yeah, Monica. Hi, Monica.
Her biggest block.
Looking outside of myself for it.
Yeah, the pursuit. The pursuit, looking for those experiences that make us happy. Don't get me wrong, like, there are a lot of experiences that make me happy.
God, yeah. There's plenty of them.
But I would like to challenge you to, every single time something happens in your external reality, Monica, I'm speaking to you specifically, anytime something happens in your external reality that makes you happy, I want you to celebrate yourself by asking, in what way am I an energetic match for this experience? Because guess what? That experience didn't find you. You created it. You created that experience. So no, whatever made you happy is not making you happy. It is a reflection of the happiness inside of you. And so when you can be like, oh wow, I created this experience, like, there is happiness inside of you. When you can start to see that you already have it and you never lost it.
And that you're the conscious creator.
That's beautiful.
Kate said, feeling unworthy of it.
Ooh. I can relate to that one profoundly.
I can too, for sure.
I'm trying to see if I have a story. Do you have a story about yourself of unworthiness of happiness?
There's a lot. I feel like I remember just growing up, in and out. This isn't all the time something constant, but throughout my teenage years and even early 20s, like, heartbreak after heartbreak, different.
Why is it happening to me?
Why is it? What's been going on? What am I doing so wrong? I'm a good person. I'm treating people okay, but why is this going on in my life? And so you start to feel unworthy of actually being happy, and that takes a really crazy toll on you. It did for me. I know that for sure. And wow, yeah.
I almost wonder if there was a point before that, like a belief that stems even earlier, that created it inside of you so strongly that you, in fact, manifested those relationships of heartbreak.
And those were essentially, if you want to look at it, triggers or teachers to jolt me out of this state of being, and
actually to jolt you into the state of being, to see it for what it is.
Good point.
And to accept that it's been there.
Good point.
You know? So Kate and anyone else who might, you know, relate to her feeling unworthy of it, like what was the first time in your life you can remember feeling unworthy of joy? I mean, that's an infinite possibility. I mean, it could have been you celebrating something exciting and someone told you to toughen up and like get over it, if you were celebrating something exciting, they would tell you to tone it down, right? Like dial it down, don't celebrate so loudly, just tone it down a notch. Then you might start to think like, oh, my happiness, I shouldn't express it as much, and then eventually you might get to a point where you feel unworthy.
Exactly.
But that's literally like one example of the infinite reasons.
Yeah, I think it's, again, this is something that's just been an evolutionary process. But I do want to check on Instagram real quick, because we do have 2 cameras in case you join us late. So we're trying to like look up and look down. And Erica said, oops. Hey, I remember doing a consultation with you in 2017. I was sharing that I didn't think I could give up eggs and cheese. Thanks for your belief that I could. I'm now 100% plant-based. Nice. That's awesome.
That's amazing.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
That's so fun. Oh my God, that's awesome. And yeah, Lauren experienced heartbreak one after another. You know, we try to avoid all those things, but aren't we who we are now because of those things? And sure, they were the teachers to guide us deeper.
Well, and the best example that I could possibly use while we wrap this up is that all of those things that were heartbreaks after heartbreak after heartbreak, trauma after trauma after trauma, they led me to a point where I aligned with my own inner self, my own inner happiness, and then co-created that experience to meet you. And you did the same. And how beautiful is that? Because we get to share every single day together and be in this space. And I mean, every day it's amazing. So I'm just so thankful and also glad that I did that work and went through that darkness and on that really deep journey of self-discovery, because I wouldn't have aligned with what this is.
You said it best. I couldn't have said it better. It's amazing. We always pinch ourselves to think, you know, is this true? Like everything that's been going on in our lives since meeting. And it is a pure reflection of the joy that we have found and remembered and reawakened to within us. And I'm just really excited to see where it goes, because we're no longer chasing after happiness, because at least if we find ourselves chasing, we're able to notice it. We're able to say, oh, okay, what's going on here? I must be chasing happiness. We're able to pull ourselves back and get back into that state of being. And then if we struggle with it, we talk about it. We're always talking about this stuff together.
It happens, you know. Like, how
many late night coaching sessions have we had on that couch?
Or in the bed, we're getting all sort of coaching stuff going on. Let's see, we have one more up here on Instagram. How do you say happy, grateful, and in the moment while still looking ahead, manifesting goals? What does it look like to go with the flow but still create what you want?
That is one of the best questions anyone could ever ask about this. And, you know, I think that's actually one of the most common stumbling blocks in creating our life. You know, I like to call goals a blueprint. Goals are the rough draft. Goals are, you know, when a writer or an artist gets out a sketch pencil and a sketch pad and just kind of figures stuff out before he goes into creation mode. But there are so many stepping stones to get to the final product that happen in between the sketch, in between the blueprint. in between the thought and the ideas that sometimes and oftentimes the final result ends up being so different,
completely different,
that you don't even recognize where it started from.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a true testament of aligning with your true self.
And trust.
letting it, yeah, exactly. Trusting that true self, that you will get yourself where you need to be, when you need to be there, and how it needs to be done.
The hardest lesson that I've had personally.
Because, as business owners, we have a lot of goals to reach. One of the things we had to release was the thinking we know how. The thinking we know how this goal should be reached. The thinking we know all of the possible ways to get there. We, with our small minds, cannot fathom the infinite possibility to get from point A to point Z. And you find that manifestation, goal, like conscious manifestation, because we're all creating all the time. Manifestation, though, the journey to a specific goal, is almost a teacher in and of itself, because as you get there, you go like this, zigzag, zigzag, zigzag. We think we know the quickest route from here to here. But really what happens is we start getting into a state of resistance because all these obstacles start happening. And then we start saying, well, no, I know best. I know what needs to happen to get around this obstacle. And we think we're like straight shot. Come on, baby, you got it. Go, go, go. I will be happy when. That's the first mistake, is if you've set a goal to be better than where you're at now, you're always going to chase it, because you will not be an energetic match for that end goal. You will not be an energetic match for that experience, right?
Well, continue.
So our true self knows all the infinite possibilities to get here. Mm-hmm. If indeed that goal is in alignment with our divine highest good, which we once again think we know what that is, but we don't always with our small minds know. Our true self will take us every which way that we need to bring this to fruition in our lives, because during those obstacles, that's like I was saying earlier, that's the beauty, that's the darkness that's trying to get you to that end point by saying, okay, you want to be here, you want to be at the top of this mountain, but right now you're looking at it from the bottom, and all these fears that you've buried underneath you for your whole life that you're refusing to look at, they are not an energetic match for this experience up here at the top of the mountain. So darkness, I'm darkness speaking, I'm here to help rattle the cage, get you out of your flow state so that you can have the opportunity to see what's not an energetic match for this experience. Thus, you can cleanse whatever it is by truly facing it. Therefore, guess what? You become an energetic match for the end goal that it was you were looking to achieve. And along the way, you almost start losing track of like how to do this, because you no longer need to know how to do this. You build that trust, you build that resilience, you build that knowing. And then when you start to see like, oh, well, I'm already happy where I'm at. Yes, I would smile. I would love this experience. But I know that I can only have this experience as a true reflection of the whatever it is that I need to be inside to be an energetic match for that experience. So, yeah, tapping into your happiness as it is, trusting the flow, having fun, experimenting, following your intuition, keeping the end goal in mind, but also being willing to let go of it if it's not what it needs to be.
Flexibility, mm-hmm. and the ability to pivot. We always talk about it in our business, the ability to pivot, the ability to be flexible. And I must add to that, what she said was everything. But what I must add to that is that every single person, every experience is your greatest teacher. And to look at it as a teacher rather than looking at it as just something happening to you, as we were talking about before. Because once you start looking at things in life in a different way and you pull back, so to say, you can see the synchronicities in every mm-hmm. single moment that you're walking around doing whatever you're doing. You can see it everywhere. Like, it's so easy now. Like, just being like, oh yeah, like, wow, how many stories can we
Oh
probably
God,
share
there's
about
so
that?
many.
But that's besides the point. The point is that if we start looking at these things as a teacher and we start coming at it from that awareness and that perspective, then this journey of going through the darkness and going through these difficult times becomes easier, easier, and easier. And yes, again, the end goal might not be what it is you sought for in the beginning, but it's the journey that is the fun.
That's the best part. That's the best part.
Because then aren't we looking for the next goal and the next journey?
Yeah, more goals, more things. I actually don't set goals with my clients. I think goals, I like to see vision. I like to see vision. I like to connect with vision. But, we can have loose like things you're aiming for. But really, it's just an experience to declutter. It's just a thing to trigger decluttering. And that's what I'm here for, is to help people declutter. And so, guys, I know you've got busy lives and you got to get back to doing whatever it is you're doing. We could go on and on forever and talk about
every single night.
Talk about happiness, talk about whatever topic. Next week, we'll have a new topic for you guys. And I want to quickly, before you jump off, next week on November 29th, I am really excited because I'm launching, and Christopher, this is a project between the two of us, although you'll be seeing my face. Right. He's just as much a part of this as I am. I wouldn't be able to do it without him. But I'm launching a 21-day positive outlook challenge. And I'm really excited because it is a challenge. It's a challenge to get you deep in there. It's actually broken up into 3 phases. I won't go into too many details, but I help you set your vision. I help you go straight into the darkness, and I help you emerge into the light by embracing gratitude, accepting yourself, moving into states of self-love, and finally, for the first time, really sitting with that darkness. And it's beautiful. It's been a lot of fun creating this and really excited to bring it to you guys. So if this is a topic that you really did enjoy, I highly, highly recommend getting on our wait list. What's the website?
soulinwonder.com/waitlist. And we'll put it in the comments. soulinwonder.com/waitlist.
Yes, and so you'll get email updates on that.
We got a lot of people lined up for this one.
I know. I'm getting a lot of really pumped up messages too in my inbox. They're like, I can't wait. And even people who feel happy, even people who are positive, they want to do it because they want to make sure, like, am I missing something? How can I go deeper? Like, it doesn't matter what level you're on of happiness. You could be.
And not to mention the Positive Outlook Challenge, but all the good stuff that goes with it.
Yeah, there's a lot of awesome bonuses that we're just like throwing at you for free. So, but anyway, that's what the main things that just needed to flow out as we were talking about happiness tonight. And I know there are probably 50 million other things we could talk about, but we want to keep this under wraps for you guys nice and quick as possible.
Next week, we will be hopping on again. We don't know the subject. We go to the whiteboard, we point and say, okay, that's what we're talking about tonight. It's just a flow all the time. So
if you have a topic,
if you guys have a topic that you want us to cover on Conscious Conversations, you can catch us every single Wednesday at 8 p.m. We'll be on Instagram and Facebook, and hopefully we'll have the screens figured out where we're not looking up and down. But anyways, send us a message, private inbox us at Soul and Wonder on our Facebook page, or even on Instagram, and say, hey guys, I really want you to talk about this subject. It's an open show. We're talking about spirituality. We're talking about personal development.
We'll get weird if you want to.
We'll get weird.
And bring your questions. Bring your questions. Thank you for asking questions. Bring them every time.
Yeah.
All right?
So
we love you guys for being here. Bring your comments too. Be part of this conversation. And I hope you guys have a beautiful night, and we shall see you next week.
See you guys.